Fernando, and I've had the pleasure of putting together tonight's event. A very, very warm welcome to you all on behalf of the Friends of Sri Lanka Association, and particularly to Your Excellency for being with us this evening. I know it's been a busy day for you, from meeting the Queen this morning. Who could possibly resist an evening with Bernard Sinniah and friends? Your predecessor was actually a great supporter of ours as well, and attended many of our events, and your willingness to engage with the wider diaspora is reflected in your attendance today. It's lovely also to see so many new faces in the room. Our next event, it gives me an opportunity to plug that with the new people here and new members that we've signed up this evening. Our next event is on the 13th of March in Marylebone, when we celebrate the centenary of the birth of one of Asia's most influential architects, Geoffrey Bawa, who is of both Sri Lankan and European descent. So I hope you'll join us for that as well. I should state that we are recording tonight. The focus is very much on the speakers, so you don't need to worry if later on you're eating too many masala dosas. You don't need to worry that you'll be caught on camera. But if you are uncomfortable with the recording, please let Amal know. Amal Warden is our resident videographer, fellow committee member, and writes the current affairs and economic section of our quite hard-hitting newsletter, which lands at the desk of the Foreign Office, Asia desk, 4 times a year. And they value that as well. So thank you, Amal, and thank you for filming tonight. Today's event is very firmly about shining a light on Jaffna and all that it has to offer. Sri Lanka and her people are on a journey. The destination, a future full of promise, prosperity, and national glory. Every part of this resplendent island should be auditioned for the world to see. And as I continue researching, I keep finding places, people and customs that both astound and excite in equal measure, Jaffna being one. To tell us more, we have a range of speakers lined up. One of them is seated in the audience. You're more than welcome to come and sit up here. We have a range of speakers lined up, and it's our intention to power through the talks, giving you more time for Q&A at the end. Our first speaker this evening is Bernard Sinniah. Bernard is a former managing director of Citibank and global head of foreign exchange corporate sales and electronic foreign exchange solutions. His career at Citi took him across the world, first starting in Colombo, then moving to Australia, and finally ending up here in London. Bernard co-founded a personal motivational app known as the I Can app, and is also a director of a Sri Lankan fintech company, Transact Lanka, which owns Rocker Technologies. He recently joined the board of NDB Capital Holdings in Sri Lanka as well. During his career at Citi, Bernard ran numerous global, regional, and country businesses, building successful teams to help Fortune 500 companies identify and manage their foreign exchange risks to hedge against currency movements. One of Bernard's key strengths is capacity building and helping individuals and teams exceed their goals. In 2017, Bernie retired after 38 years at Citibank and decided to become a writer. Bernie lives with his wife Anita and 3 children in Walton-on-Thames in Surrey. And tonight he talks to us about his first book, Jaffna Boy, which is an account of his time at St John's College boarding school in Jaffna in the 1970s. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Bernard Sinniah.
So as I just thinking about my speech today, I go back to my first speech at St. John's College in 1972. We used to have this class competition, and the rule is that for each class there has to be at least 2 participants to win the prize. So in our class we had one of the best speakers, Mano Benjamin, and he was definitely going to win. So they asked me whether I could be the second speaker. And the poem that was selected was this famous poem called Casablanca, the boy who stood on the burning deck. So the competition started, and my friend gave the first speech. He did very well. Everyone was very happy. We are going to win. And now it was my turn. So I just went up to the to the stage, and I said, Casabianca, and forgot the second line. Then moved back, and I said again, Casabianca, and it was loud voice, and still I couldn't get my speech going. And third time I said Casabianca, the screen closed, and all I got was a slap from the class teacher. That sort of sums up my life at St. John's. A lot of people thought, or I gave the impression that I was talented and an academic kind of thing, but sort of disappointed everyone over and over again. But today, I want to take you through the Jaffna Boy book. It's about the life at St. John's, especially at the boarding school, and some of the fun that we had at St. John's. Chamali, thank you for that nice introduction. I never got that kind of introduction at Citibank. Thank you to the High Commissioner and Sir Peter and all of you for coming today. I also want to make a special mention of my chemistry teacher who is there, Mr. Sri Haran, who was extremely frustrated, perhaps even angry with me because I think I got the class average really down because of my academic skills. But our boarding life was excellent. It was filled with a lot of fun, a lot of tears. We had people from rich family, poor family. We had people from different religions. We had Hindus, Christians, Muslims. We also had a Buddhist whose father was the DIG for Jaffna at that time. So it was a very interesting set of people. I remember my father taking me to the hostel in 1968 in his Morris Minor, which is supposed to be a great car at that time, 236989, and he left me and my mother. They left me at the boarding, and it was a terrible feeling. I was about 7.5, 8 years old. It was like a dormitory, and there were 40 beds, and the toilet was about 50 to 75 yards away from the dormitory. I never lived in a place where the toilet was way out there and it's very difficult to go. So it was a massive change, and I was very upset. For the first year, I was extremely upset. Tend to cry in the night, thinking of my parents, writing letters to the parents and things like that. And the food is something to get used to in the boarding. And I'll give you one example. There is a food, or Sri Lankan food called puttu or pittu or whatever way you want to call it. And at the boarding, when you eat that thing, you have to visit the doctor next day morning because your tooth have all moved all over the place. Funnily, the doctor that was in charge of St. John's, his nickname was Dr. Kill. So he's not a guy that we want to go because you actually become more sick after that. And anything, whether you break the leg, or break your hand, you have a headache, or you have a stomach upset, he gives you Disprin, right? And take 2 Disprin, that's it, go away, right? So he was like that. To wait like one day, one of the boys, just to test him out, he went to Dr. Kill and said, "Sir, I have got encyclopedia, sir." And he said, "Oh, you take 2 Disprin." So that's the kind of doctor we had. The whole boarding life was centered around there were 3 bells that we were connected to. One is the college bell, right? And then the dining room bell and the church bell. We lived by this bell. So because of that, when I was about 10 years old, I thought my first sort of coming of age kind of mischievous thing that I want to do is something to do with the bell. So on the April Fool's Day, we got a cow from somewhere, and we took the cow and tied it up to the church bell. This cow is one of the laziest cow you will ever meet in this world. And it started moving very slowly, and the church bell went ding. Then after 10 seconds, dong, like that. And I don't know whether the practice is in England as well, but in Sri Lanka, especially in Jaffna, when someone dies, the church bell, this is how the church bell goes, ding, dong, very slowly. So this was 5 a.m. in the morning, and when we did that, all the people came out to talk to the church keeper, what's going on, who has died. People like funerals because then if it's someone very close to us, then we don't have to go to school. We have to go to the funeral. It's all a lot of fun. So a lot of people came out, including the priest. He came out, and then I panicked because now the priest, we have a lot of respect for the priest. Although I fell asleep a lot at his sermons. So I sort of untied the cow, and unfortunately this cow went straight into the priest. And then we had to take the priest to Dr. Kill to get him sorted out. I was also introduced to, when I was 11 or 12, to the concept of OC. Sri Master will remember what OC is. OC, I think it started after the war, when America gave flour to Sri Lanka in the sacks, they put OC on credit. But OC for St. John's boys is actually borrowing a shirt from someone else. So I quickly realized I really don't need good clothes. All I need to make sure is that my friends have good clothes. So what I do is I always borrow other people's clothes and I go and things like that, except once, and when you are a boarder, you don't get opportunities to meet girls. So the only place you can meet is you go to the church, and then there's a youth fellowship and things like that. So once I wore one of the really good shirt from a Hindu boy, and his trousers and his shoes and his socks, everything except the underwear, everything was borrowed. And we went to church, and not that I attracted any girls, but I think people were impressed with my clothes. Unfortunately, next week, my cousin, he then borrowed the same clothes and wore it. And the girls quickly figured out that this OC concept is nothing to be impressed about. And we did a lot of things to avoid school or studies or classes. So we joined the Scout movements. We joined the Interact Club, which is the junior club of the Rotary Club, the Leo Club. There was a radio club that came out. I was terrible at science, but I went for the radio club as well. So this is the thing that we did all the time to get out of the studies. But then there was a guy called Pange Chelvan, who was a brilliant student, and he entered university to become a doctor. And then we tried to figure out how the hell is he studying very well, and how can he go to uni. Then someone told us that apparently when he studies, he shakes his legs. And if you shake your leg, then you also could study well and go to uni. So then that was our plan. So all of us started shaking our legs and like that. And then within 5 minutes, most of us were fast asleep. So I think I still have that sleeping habit. I can sleep anywhere, anytime, in any pose. And that's all because of this Dr. Pange Chelvan, who is actually living here in Croydon or somewhere. We have this Boarders Day every year. We have a Boarders Day, which was the highlight of our life. After the first few years, I did not even want to go home. I want to stay at the boarding. I want to enjoy it. It was amazing fun. And the Boarders Day, of course, you have fast eating competition. And then there are dramas. We participated in a lot of dramas. There were 2 dramas that I was involved. One was called Dr. No, N-O-K-N-O-W. And the other one is Otter Pudakar. It's a Tamil word. It means a village doctor or something like that. So, I think, it sort of allowed us, apart from the academic skills which our parents sent us to school, we had tremendous fun by involving ourselves in other things that that I think that became very useful to us in later in our life. But in Jaffna, if you are to be a successful person at that time, or you're marriage has, if you want to marry someone or if you want to have a girlfriend, there's one thing you have to do, which is you have to be brilliant at studies. Or sports, but if it's sports, it's cricket. I was terrible at all. So the chance of me getting a girlfriend was zero. So when I left Jaffna, I was pretty confused. I thought of myself as a failed Jaffna boy. And I was thinking forward, okay, now there's going to be no marriage, I'm going to be a bachelor forever, and all these dramas. So, fortunately, someone ultimately married me. But before I left Jaffna, there was a movie called Annakili that was released. In that movie, there was an actress called Sujata, beautiful girl, maybe 5 or 6 years older than me. So my view was now, okay, I have failed in academic skills. Let me go to Colombo, get into the movies, act, go to Chennai and marry her, right? Because there's no chance in Jaffna. In fact, this is the book. When you go and see the movies those days, you see the songs and all comes, they give a book. So this is one of Sujata, that's beautiful, right? Right, and then that's the other movie she acted. So, I used to carry this and that. In the boarding, the dormitory, people have, we have 7:45 in the night, we have prayers. So people have, they have God pictures of, Hindu gods and, Jesus and things like that. I had Sujata to worship, and that's how this thing. So I had this, and I was all set now when I went on this train to Colombo. On the way, in somewhere in Kilnachi, a beautiful nun got into the train. So I thought, rather than going to India, maybe let me try this nun. So I tried to speak to the nun, and I gave her a lot of lies, saying that I have already entered university and things like that. And then, as usual, I fell asleep, and then when I woke up, she's missing, she has got down. So I missed her, so I was back into the Sujata project. I ended up in Colombo, feeling terrible on one hand about letting, my parents down and my family down, and I don't know what am I going to do. So I immediately applied for all the movie acting jobs. And then I was, they called me for an interview. I had, of course, because at boarding I had no clothes, and even when I came out of the boarding I had a few clothes, but that were not good for the interviews. So I borrowed my eldest brother's blue shirt, and it was called St. Michael's. I think, when it's hot, it sticks to your body, this shirt, blue shirt, and a brown trouser from my brother, shoes was mine, and the tie, those days the tie starts from one armpit to the other armpit, with a big tie, and I went for this acting interview. And I went there were 10 chairs opposite BMICH, there's a Buddhist institute or whatever it is, and I went there. And the others were all in sarong and shorts and things like that, except me in this tie and short and shirt. Then they called my name. When I got up, unfortunately the chair also came up with me. And then I looked down, someone has put a chewing gum on the chair. So I know this is not a good sign. So when I went in, this guy said, you will get the part to act, no problem, but you need to give us 10,000 rupees for the movie. So I told him I borrowed 35 cents to come by bus. I think finding 10,000 is going to be tough. So that's when I abandoned the project, Sujata project, and then I applied for a lot of jobs, and fortunately I got into Citibank and ended up, coming here, and now I'm retired. But what I want to say about St. John's is, and the boarding life is, yes, we made a lot of jokes and a lot of fun, but we learned unbelievably, we learned a lot from our fellow boarders as well as from our teachers. And, we were given money to organize the Boarders' Day. We were the ones who were organizing the prize giving. We were the ones who were organizing the sports day. Any advanced level union dinner, everything was organized by the boarders. And the amazing amount of organizational skills, without us realizing, we learned at the boarding. I did mention Sierra Master, chemistry teacher. Even last week I texted him and said, sir, why do you call water H2O? Right? Why can't you put WA or something like that? But I want to tell something about how much the teachers cared for us. So there was a time, and I'm sure sir will remember this, that I was very weak at chemistry and I was going for tuition classes and I needed some place to stay during the holidays. And I was telling Sri Master, sir, you know, I need a place to stay. He said, okay, I have a spare room outside my house. Why don't you come and stay there for the holidays? And 3 of us in one room, we stayed there. And that's how much they cared for us. He didn't charge us anything. Only last year I knew that the dogs used to sleep there. But you know, we loved our teachers, we loved our friends, and I think, you know, I will go back to that life any day because it was such a good fun. We do meet almost every 3 years, a few of us meet. We have WhatsApp groups and all the drama, all the jokes and things like that. But St. John's and the boarding gave us a fantastic foundation that I was able to take advantage of. Thank you very much. That's all I want to say about it.